The 2024 gaming year is nearing the finish line, and if there's a common thread linking all of this year's biggest releases, it's that several of these games have been surprise hits. While 2023 was loaded with modern masterpieces like Baldur's Gate 3, Street Fighter 6, and Alan Wake 2, 2024 has delivered hits like Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Just like last year, we'll be keeping track of the best. For this list, a game has to earn a review score of at least 8 or higher from GameSpot to make the cut. That's not to say that games scoring lower or that we didn't manage to review should be ignored, as there's still plenty of fun to be had, even if these titles didn't meet this threshold. Another year, another NBA game from 2K that sticks to the strengths of the series. Once again, flexing incredible visuals, fine-tuned gameplay, and an engaging career mode, NBA 2K25 remains the best-in-class basketball game around, but its heavy-handed approach to microtransactions can be distracting. When it comes to wild action, weird scenarios, and storytelling that'll leave you emotionally devastated, few games can compare to the Like a Dragon series. The latest chapter in the mainline series builds on the RPG gameplay introduced in its predecessor, further fine-tuning and polishing the experience so that it can offer a more joyful experience. While the main story does meander in places, this swan song for the legendary Dragon of Dojima has its heart in the right place and offers an incredible amount of side content like Dondoko Island, Sujimon battles, and so much more. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is a playful link between the traditional dungeon design of old-school Zelda games and the creative flair of modern games like Tears of the Kingdom, expertly weaving its way through these eras. It's inspired by all things Zelda and has its own identity, one of a forward-thinking and nostalgic adventure that is easily on par with the biggest games in the franchise. Who would have thought that escorting a divine maiden down a mountain infested with demonic nightmare fuel could be so dangerous? In Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, that trek requires you to master both action and strategy in your quest to purify a mountain of the corruption possessed by the ungrateful dead, and this marriage of two distinct genres creates a novel experience to enjoy. Frostpunk 2 builds on the bleak themes of the first game, evolving the idea of making difficult choices and weaving a rich selection of new systems into its design. The focus isn't just on city building, but forging fragile alliances to help you survive the coldest of nights. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a blockbuster of a sequel, a bigger and bolder return of Cloud and friends as they continue to defy destiny. While the game makes a few fumbles, they don't detract from the new chapter's impressive visuals, finely honed combat, and exciting deviations from the established series lore. EA Sports College Football 25 looks and feels like a proper current-gen game of football, as it has a solid foundation with its dynamic action and genuinely impressive graphics. Its biggest triumph is in how it captures the look, feel, and excitement of college football, fusing that energy with intense moment-to-moment gameplay. Diablo 4 gets a well-designed upgrade with its first expansion and a fun re-entry point for lapsed players. Alongside the new Spiritborn class, the dangerous dungeons of the Kurast Undercity, new uniques and changes that make solo play feel more enjoyable, Diablo 4 feels better than ever and ready for another year of exciting demon slaying. The Creatures of Ava is a rarity, a creative combination of puzzle solving and platforming set in a beautiful frontier. It's a vibrant and captivating package of ideas with a terrific story that's full of surprises as you work to save the diverse wildlife from a planet-wide calamity. Come for the family-friendly gameplay. Stay for the gorgeous vistas and engrossing challenges you'll encounter along the way. Fighting back against endless waves of the undead in Call of Duty games has always been a panic-inducing delight, and this year's version of the PvZ Zombies mode is a welcome return to its round-based roots. Full of Easter eggs to hunt down and increasingly challenging hordes of the undead to take on, Zombies feels especially fun to play this year, thanks to the introduction of the new Omni movement system. While the number of gameplay systems can be overwhelming, this is still an exciting mode to keep you on the edge of your seat. Call of Duty's multiplayer walks on a tightrope this year, deftly balancing a sense of familiarity with adjustments to its core formula. This year's marquee feature is the introduction of Omni movement, a fast and fluid style of locomotion that can lead to wild moments and feels like a natural extension of the COD formula. Throw in a varied selection of maps and subtle tweaks that encourage you to continually evolve your playstyle, and you've got a Call of Duty experience full of intense fun. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 doesn't disappoint with its single-player campaign, as developer Raven Software delivers a spy thriller that feels and plays like a big-budget Hollywood movie. Full of memorable characters and explosive moments across a varied selection of missions, the Black Ops 6 campaign is an engaging part of this year's Call of Duty package. Black Myth Wukong isn't the Souls-like you expect it to be, as this adaptation of Journey to the West throws you into a gauntlet of stunning boss battles that require you to use every trick in the book to survive. While some moments of tedium are sprinkled between fist-pumping battles of pure spectacle, the game is still an elegant and exciting action RPG that feels refreshing to play. A Batman game that captures all the predatorial, pugilistic, and puzzle-solving fun of the core Arkham series of games, Arkham Shadow is a must-play game for any Batman fans looking to put their MetaQuest VR headset to good use. How does a game like World of Warcraft stay fresh after 2 decades? With an expansion that begins with a bang, setting the stage for a new era in the game. The first part of a 3-expansion storyline called the World Soul Saga, the war within places a new emphasis on player choice, giving you all the tools you need to enjoy the World of Warcraft at your own pace. Alongside major changes and digestible endgame content for solo players, the war within is the perfect entry point for newcomers and rewarding for veterans. We're now 7 games deep into the SteamWorld series, and this franchise shows that there's still plenty of fuel in its tank as it builds on an established foundation of tactics and mechanical style. SteamWorld Heist 2 is an effortlessly charming high-seas adventure, one that greatly expands on virtually all of its systems without overcomplicating them and retains its clockwork charm. Bloober Team had its work cut out for it when it was tasked with remaking one of the best horror games of all time, but the studio stuck the landing with Silent Hill 2. Retaining the original chills and thrills of the PS2 classic, Bloober Team expands on it with incredible sound design, intense action, and an eye for detail that breathes new life into the series. For the last couple of years, Switch owners have had access to one of the best Atlas RPGs in the form of Shin Megami Tensei V. At long last, it's now available on other platforms and in an enhanced package that makes a great game even better. Beyond the visual upgrades and welcome quality of life changes, Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance will keep your eyes glued to the screen with its expanded storylines and engaging demon collecting gameplay. After an era of 3D adventures, Prince of Persia's return to its 2D roots feels like a welcome breath of fresh air for the franchise. Smartly incorporating Metroidvania elements into its design, the Lost Crown throws in pitch-perfect combat and a beautifully crafted world for good measure, combining them all into a cohesive whole. The Lost Crown isn't just a thrilling Metroidvania, it's a finely tuned entry in the genre that other games will be looking to for inspiration in the years to come. Not just a joyful blast of creative fun, The Plucky Squire is also an inspiring tale that's beautifully told across its storybook world. With clever puzzles, seamless shifting between 2D and 3D realms, and several surprises up its metaphorical sleeves, this is one Zelda-like adventure game that you need to check out. Long considered to be one of the best Persona games of all time, Persona 3 Reload is a complete remake for the modern age. The best way to experience an all-time classic and one of the darkest stories in the franchise, Persona 3 Reload is a comprehensive overhaul of the game that makes its combat more approachable, upgrades its visuals to provide a slick feast for the eyes, and bundles it all up with an unforgettable soundtrack. It's a testament to the evergreen design of Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door that its gameplay still holds up beautifully 2 decades after it was first released. With several meaningful quality-of-life updates woven into its rock-solid gaming DNA, beautiful HD visuals, and a delightful soundtrack full of clever remixes, this classic Mario game is still as much fun to play today as it was back in 2004. A psychological horror puzzle game, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is one of this year's best cerebral workouts. Cryptic, puzzling, and challenging, the game doesn't just push you to solve seemingly impossible riddles, it tells a heck of a great story with its unique artistic design. Switching from a top-down twin-stick shooter design to a third-person perspective, Helldivers 2 is an action-packed adventure across alien planets. In a crowded live service environment, developer Arrowhead has delivered a fun romp that's best enjoyed with friends, enhanced by satisfying gunplay, and feels constantly fresh thanks to some clever design. Even in early access, Hades 2 is already shaping up to be a strong Game of the Year contender. Launching with a ton of content and right out of the gate, developer Supergiant Games has expanded on the ideas of the first game with an even deeper combat system and an engrossing story. 12 years after the first game came out, Dragon's Dogma 2 builds on the best parts of that sweeping fantasy tale to deliver a magical open-world RPG. It might not be the most innovative sequel, but those core strengths are enhanced by emergent moments, technological leaps, and varied gameplay to create a thrilling sense of adventure. There was a lot of pressure on Bungie to deliver a satisfying conclusion to Destiny's Light and Darkness saga, but the final shape didn't just live up to those expectations, it stuck the landing with style. A thrilling story, impactful gameplay changes, and a finale that united its community helped push Destiny 2 to new heights. It might look like a cute Metroidvania at first glance, but the deeper you venture into Animal Well, the more surreal it becomes as you find yourself driven to reach the end. Created by solo developer Billy Basso, it's a game of constant surprises as you find yourself driven to explore yet another room in its neon-soaked world. Astro's Playroom has been one of the best and free games on PS5 consoles for years, and with Astrobot, Team Asobi has cemented its position as one of Sony's best first-party studios. A thrilling adventure that is effortlessly charming, Astrobot feels consistently fun to play thanks to its strong platforming core, a mountain of secrets, and outstanding use of the DualSense controller, which makes you feel like you're part of Astro's journey. Atlus has been firing on all cylinders over the last couple of years with its Persona games, but Metaphor Refantazio is arguably the studio at its very best. A high fantasy adventure with engaging characters, surprising plot twists, and polished turn-based combat, Metaphor Refantazio isn't just a masterpiece, it's an inspiring reminder of the power of fantasy. In 2024, Shadow of the Erdtree is everything you love about Elden Ring and delivered with perfect execution. Completing the grand story of Elden Ring, the expansion injects new gameplay content, even tougher boss battles, and more awe-inspiring locations into an already superb game. WWE games have been steadily improving since the series bounced back from the low point that was WWE 2K20, and this year's sports entertainment simulator is a main event contender. With polished fundamentals, a wealth of content, and a showcase mode featuring the best of WrestleMania across the decades, WWE 2K24 is the undisputed champion of the pro wrestling genre. Developer Saber Interactive had some big power boots to fill when it took on the task of bringing Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 to life, and the studio has delivered a worthy successor to the 2011 game. Brutally beautiful to look at and savagely satisfying to play, the sequel will make you feel like a true Ultramarine as you rip and tear through hordes of enemies. In the wake of new Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat games in 2023, the return of Tekken was long overdue. It might be fashionably late to the fisticuffs party, but Tekken 8 came out swinging this year with one of the best entries in the franchise. Stacked with an impressive roster on day one and flexing graphical muscles that allow you to see every sinew before a haymaker finds its mark, Tekken 8 pushes the series forward with rewarding and aggressive gameplay. We've seen plenty of Metroidvanias over the years, but Tales of Kenzera Zao builds on that genre foundation with a powerful narrative about coming to terms with loss. Combined with its African folklore inspirations and slick combat, this game uses its beautiful action-adventure design to tell a powerful story. Inspired by the likes of Bayonetta and Nier Automata, Stellar Blade is an ambitious action game with a few rough spots. If you can overlook them, there's plenty of fun to have here thanks to the fun Souls-like combat, challenging enemies, and impressive graphics. Red Barrel's third Outlast game is a major departure from previous entries in the series, successfully evolving from single-player terror to a 4-player PvP game of collective horror. A major shift into new territory, the Outlast Trials retains the core dread of its predecessors and reimagines that unique experience as a group immersion therapy session from hell with its spine-tingling story and clever gameplay systems.